Dear colleagues, let me introduce a talk on technology of rotation model of mixed learning method in technical institutions. The research was conducted to define the effects of blended learning rotation model on first-year students' performance in and attitude toward English as a foreign language. The experimental group was taught using the integration of rotation model of blended learning method. Students from Moscow Aviation Institute participated in the experiment with the pre-test and post-test design, where a quasi-experimental method of research was implemented. An experiment was performed to two intact groups consisting of 60 students of MAI. Two groups of students with the same language level were taken, but two different strategies were applied to carry out the experiment. We taught the control group using the traditional approach. We taught the experimental group with blended station rotation strategy, while the control group was given the material in traditional way by professors. Here, we used a 40-item multiple-choice type Department of Education validated test and the modified Phonema-Sherman mathematics attitude scale. Students from both groups were given a test, and the test after to measure their performance and attitude towards English. After the test being conducted, we found out that the existence of significant difference between the respective mean gain scores of the two groups under our consideration was considerable. So, as we know that nowadays we live in a very, very difficult time, and it is necessary to use something to ensure students to study better. So we decided to integrate the technology of blended rotation station to teach aviation English, and we conducted this experiment and collected the data. We attempted to describe the performance in and attitude towards English in both groups. We wanted to measure if there is any substantial difference between pre-test and post-test mean scores of each group in the following variables as performance in English, attitude towards English, personal confidence, about English grammar, vocabulary, usefulness of the subject's content, perception of the lecturer's attitudes. If we look inside the blended learning model, we'll see that it comprises several types like rotation, flex, and rich virtual models. And there are some submodels under the rotation model which are considered as hybrid. So, under our consideration was quasi-experimental method of research, the blended station rotation methodology. Of course, it affects the demands for students of higher education institutions to acquire better knowledge of the subject, especially now in the era of pandemic. So we tried to perform with highly qualified professionals and specialists with the opportunity of continuous professional and personal development. In the station rotation model, as you can see in the picture, students are moved to different stations with different strategies in teaching, learning to accomplish a certain assignment and complete the whole cycle of activities, focusing on a single topic. The problem was made to measure the effects of specific hybrid innovation, the blended learning station rotation on the performance. 30 matched pairs, 30 students, were taken into consideration. The first one, the experimental group, was tested, and another one, the control group, was responded. The lecturers gave classes, regular classes, and the data which was taken from our experiment will be later. So, from this table, you can see that the attitude toward English was without any difference, because we failed to find any significant difference between pre-test and post-test mean scores of the students from the control group in terms of confidence in learning process and asking questions and usefulness of English language, but teacher's attitude occupies the leading position in the teaching process. The difference in total value was a small one, and you can see the result on the slide. From the second table, we draw out the conclusion that there is a significant difference between the mean gain scores of the control and experimental group. And from this table, you can see that about 79% of the control group have lower scores, even lower than we could predict. So this brings clear evidence that the station rotation model proved to be a better approach in teaching aviation English in our university. Their figures fully support the conclusion that the blended learning station rotation model is number one. While integration of the station annotation model in teaching English, aviation English, the students' attitude towards the subject has been improved. Our conclusion is supported by the experiment that to search and implement, introduce and apply more effective ways to teach English, to use blended station annotation method, learning method, which is more effective, comparing to the traditional method to improve positive attitude towards English and to give more options to get better higher education as well as the knowledge of subject. Table 3 shows positive relationship between the performance in and attitude towards English as a foreign language, both control and experimental groups. And we can see that there is a significant level, not 0.05, and it can be used as independent method of teaching, being used here at the experiment and later. Also, we notice that there is their own pace of study, the students' pace of study, their background knowledge, their speed, level of knowledge, and this method brings positive attitude in the whole towards the subject. So, having conducted the experiment, we came to the conclusion that this model helps to deliver English in different stations with different teaching techniques and methods and assignment according to the will of students, according to their pace, according to their attitude and level of knowledge. And we find distant blended learning station annotation model more effective and official because students work through discussion, through presentations, through practical work, and we develop creative activity and critical thinking. The differentiated approach while using station rotation model activities just satisfied different needs of learners, and learners' attitude towards English as a foreign language was mainly positive. The research showed that also the use of great variety of different activities is more effective than the traditional method of conducting lessons. And extra activities are also possible in station annotation model if they're well prepared and easy to follow both by students and the lecturer. Findings also showed that there is a considerable difference in respective pretest and post-test means performance of each group, and we defined the existence of considerable difference in the mean gain scores of the two groups, control and experimental. We have some recommendations. First of all, please use station annotation model to improve English. Then encourage your students to think creatively, to play games, to give seminars themselves, to provide workshops, and to provide lectures. Thank you very much.